Well, hello there and bonjour. Welcome so much to the first episode of Bonjour, where we're just going to be recapping what is happening in Paris. You can see here we're in the streets of Paris with Mr. Elias Makori. Elias, we are color-coded, of course, just staying true to the theme of Team Kenya. Just tell me, how does it feel covering the Olympics? Because for you, I think you've covered about 8 Olympics, but in unique circumstances.
Yeah, I mean, it's an amazing feeling. And I'm sure before the end of the Olympics, you'll lose your Kenyan top, because that's how popular Kenya is. Everybody, when they see you wearing the Kenyan colors, they really want to have a piece of it. It's been an amazing experience.
Yes.
But the biggest, the most memorable point will be when the national anthem is played and the gold medal is being awarded to Kenya. I've seen quite a number of athletes, from Sami Wanjiru, Pamela Jelimo, all the way from the 2008 Olympics, all the way, to again Eliud Kipchoge and Perez Jepchirchir, the last 2 medals to be awarded at the Olympics in Tokyo. So it's an amazing feeling.
Absolutely. You've covered 8 Olympics, 4 physically and 4 remotely. Definitely a lot of talking points in terms of what you've seen. But of course, Elias, one key point in terms of all those Olympics that you've covered is usually who is going to carry the Kenyan flag, and we know who is going to be carrying Kenya's flag at the opening ceremony on the 26th of July.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, Ferdinand Omanyala, the Africa champion, fastest man in Africa, and Teresa Atuka, the Malkia Strikers captain, will be the flag bearers, meaning that at the opening ceremony begins at around 8:30 p.m. Kenyan time. They'll be carrying the flag as the teams go past. 3 billion, over 3 billion viewers all over the world will be watching that moment.
Yes, it feels great. It feels awesome. It's humbling at the same time to be able to carry the flag of Kenya at the Olympics. First, being there, of course, it's a dream come true, but this again is a plus, not just for me, but for the volleyball that will be there and carrying the flag of Kenya and the millions that will be following and watching. It's a big thing, and it's history and something to remember in my lifetime as having played the sports. Yeah, it's honoring.
And speaking of the opening ceremony, it's a very, very unique one, because you've covered several Olympics, and this is one of the first Olympics, I think actually the first Olympics that they are not doing the Olympics inside a stadium.
Yeah, I mean, it's exciting, because I remember Beijing, it was in the Bird's Nest Stadium, the huge new stadium built for the Beijing Olympics.
I personally feel like that opening ceremony was one of the best.
Yeah, it was one of the best. I mean, they even controlled the weather. They made it, and they picked a perfect date.
Yes.
Number 8, is superstitious for the Chinese. So it was on the 8th of August, 2008. I mean, it couldn't have been a better date.
So 8808.
8808. Yeah. But now, I mean, this particular one, I think, is going to be amazing, because it goes around a 6-kilometer loop around the river scene, and it's sort of the first outdoor opening ceremony, if you like, going through the attractions of Paris. I mean, amazing history right here in this city. The old churches and the old buildings. So the viewers will have a walk down history while watching the opening ceremony, as opposed to that being enclosed in a stadium.
Indeed. Now, talking about the flag bearers, of course, some of the countries have already named some of the athletes who are going to be holding the individual flags. And Elias, LeBron James is the gentleman who is going to be carrying the USA flag. A lot of mixed reactions regarding that decision. Some would say, why the preference? Some would say, why not somebody else? But help us understand, how is the flag bearer selected? How do they choose it?
Well, actually, a lot of factors come into play. Of course, the character of the athlete. And then again, the program, because here at the Olympics, once you finish your event, you have 48 hours to leave. And, some athletes are coming in late, and, it depends on the program. And again, the bigger the name, the better. LeBron James, they don't come any bigger. The US NBA stars will be here. LeBron, everybody knows him all over the world. Lakers, I mean, are legends. So it again gives the US team some sort of oomph, some sort of, the big pedestal. You'll see that all flag bearers of all the countries will be people who are celebrated, people who are fairly well known, and top performers.
I'm sure most people will be talking about that friendly match that they had with South Sudan.
South Sudan, I mean,
that was special.
amazing.
1 point was the difference.
Amazing. I mean, 100 to 101. and then South Sudan beat Great Britain in another friendly. So I mean, I definitely must watch this South
It's
Sudan
definitely one
games.
of those dark horses, you'd say.
Yeah, it's one of the dark horses, and again, Bernard, you know, the Olympics, they're the high demand events, and I think basketball will be high demand, meaning that it will be very, very difficult to get a ticket to go and watch whenever LeBron and you know, the US NBA stars are playing. And again, swimming is another high demand event on top of the opening and closing ceremonies.
Absolutely. Those are some of the high level events that a lot of people want to go and just experience. The opening ceremony is one of them. We have had swimming as well. We also have had basketball. Is something that a lot of people will be very keen to watch. But I'm sure for the most Kenyans, based on the performance in previous Olympics, our focus is largely on the Kenyan contingent here. Our focus is largely on how Kenya is going to be performing. We're represented in team sports, we're represented in the athletics, and we're represented in the martial arts as well. That is in the judo. But Elias, Kenya will be playing against two top teams. They're playing, that is the National Rugby Sevens team. They have been consistent competing in the Olympics. This is the third Olympics. They played a very key role in ensuring that Rugby Sevens was included through Humphrey Kayange. 2020 as well, for the Tokyo Olympics, Kenya was there. They qualified for the third Olympics. It's interesting, I was interacting with a South African journalist, and she has a lot of experience in Rugby Sevens, and she was telling me how she's very keen on watching the Blitzbok bounce back, because they've had a bit of a difficult season in the past 2 years, a lot of transition happening. But of course, one of those key moments was the fact that they were beaten by Kenya in the qualifiers. But how special is it for Kenya to make it its third successive Olympics for Rugby Sevens?
I mean, it's huge for Shujaa. I mean, like you say, making it back-to-back Olympics. And again, what's interesting about this team, Bernard, is that there are only two survivors from Tokyo, the captain Vincent Onyala and Humwa.
I have to interrupt you briefly. If you can hear the sound of a helicopter, that's just security. There's a lot of security here, because we understand how many thousands of police officers?
They have even had to import from as far as Qatar. There are police people
so
from Qatar.
So we apologize if we hear sound. We can't stop the helicopter. That is security to ensure that everything is smooth during the Olympics. We understand we have police officers from Germany, you've said.
Yeah, and also Qatar.
Qatar as well. Yes. There's also police officers from around the European region. I think I saw the Polizei, the German Polizei, one of the earlier this week. But that tells you the level of security that is going to be in place during the Olympics. Go ahead in regards to Shujaa.
Yeah, I mean, Shujaa, two survivors from Tokyo, a very lively group of 12 players. I was with them, but I spent some days in you know, the pre-Olympics training camp, which is in Miramas. Miramas is about 4 hours by train from here. You know, the atmosphere in camp, Coach Wambua Bling really putting the people together, and very importantly, having Andrew Amonde on the coaching staff, the fitness you know, expert, who was in the team that played the last Olympics in Tokyo.
So far, so good. I can say the boys are in good spirits. Technically, we've cleaned up on our attack and defense frameworks, and in terms of opposition, we've done our job on them. So we are ready.
So they need to win those two games against Argentina and Australia just to get one foot into the quarterfinals.
Absolutely. It will be a very, very tough game against Argentina. Remember, this is a team that has dominated the World 7 series extensively, so that will be a game to watch out for. Obviously, Kenya, a lot of support will be coming from the continent. Also, South Africa as well will be in action. They're the two only African teams. South Africa won the repechage tournament. That enabled them to join Kenya as the other second African country that is competing at the Olympics. And let's go back to the issue of security and how important is it to ensure that all those loopholes, security loopholes, are covered per se, because I'm thinking about the opening ceremony specifically, because it's a unique one. It's not in a stadium. You know, in a stadium it's a controlled environment, but just imagine having an opening ceremony on the River Seine.
Yeah, I mean, wherever you go in this city, right here we can see, you know, a couple of cops there watching us, just making sure everything is okay. There are a lot more in plain clothes, you know, undercover, moving around. So it's a highly protected area, and that's why they had to summon, you know, support from other EU nations and friendly nations like Qatar. So security will be very tight. A lot of areas have been cordoned off before you get to the River Seine, which was closed last week on Friday, just for preparation. It will be very difficult to get there. And like you said, Bernard, you know, choppers all over. They are flying all over.
They're flying around.
They are flying around. So it makes you have that sense of security.
You know, in some instances in your professional career, you get the opportunity to experience some very unique things. we've spoken about security. We do apologize once again for that noise. Those are helicopters that have just been doing their routine. What are they called? The sweeps.
Yeah, actually, there's one stationary up here. Maybe they're just monitoring
just
to see what we are doing. I'm sure they have their cameras trained on us just to make sure that we're up to no bad things.
Yes, absolutely. So now, speaking of security, now there's one of those places within Paris that is one of the most highly guarded places. Elias, yourself, and myself, we had the privilege of going where?
Actually, the Élysée Palace, it's 800 years old. I mean, never in my wildest dreams did I imagine that I'll be in a presidential palace and then also, you know, interact with the head of state of no less a country than France. I mean, first of all, the architecture, ancient architecture hits you when you go there. You know, you start, you know, looking around, and by the time you go there, I mean, you're in another zone.
Let me tell you, in my entire professional career, I would never have ever told someone that I would gotten the chance to actually go to the highest office in France, and that was the palace, the Élysée Palace. That is where the president resides. And it was quite a unique experience because, first of all, we were amongst several journalists. It was for a very privileged few, and we're very humbled to, I think, we were among some of the maybe possibly very few African countries that were represented there. And for me, I think the fact that we were able to be in such close proximity to the president of France, and just feel the warmth, feel the energy, but you could also feel that level of power because the security guys just.
I mean, they were very friendly.
Yeah.
You know, these are some of those moments you say, mwalimu wa maths yuko wapi alisema hatutafika hapa, or you say, you know, mommy, I made it. I mean, yeah, it was amazing security. They're friendly. They don't shove you around. They don't step on your toes. They are very polite and you know, closely guarding. We expect about 100 heads of state to come for the opening ceremony. So you can imagine the support, the security around the presidency has to be a few notches higher.
Absolutely, and I can tell you for a fact, being at the palace, there's just some energy you felt. It wasn't as it was a very open kind of arrangement, but you could still feel that you were being watched. You could still feel that somebody knew who you are, because there was a very strict vetting that was done prior to allowing journalists to access that special place. But I think for me, it was the fact that how he was able to mingle with journalists from around the world. He spent, I think, almost close to 30-40 minutes taking selfies. Of course, I had to take one. That one I had to put away my journalistic ethics briefly, because it's a rare opportunity.
I mean, it's a rare opportunity, and again, he knew something about everybody, every country. You know, the journalists from USA, he had 1 or 2 words for them, from China, from Japan, and also from you know, Kenya. He really mingled with us and said how he's happy with the country. He loves Kenya and hopes to come back again, along with the First Lady, Brigitte.
That would be very special. And finally, Mr. Elias, a very unique thing is the fact that we're honoring Kenyan heroes. We're appreciating Kenyan sporting stars. There's this concept of bingwa. And I think for me, my understanding of the word bingwa is not necessarily somebody who wins. Bingwa is just somebody who is selfless, somebody who is able to step up to the plate and try as much as possible to lift others.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, they're the people who are behind the scenes, the trainers. For example, look at rugby. They came with a few extra players who are not in the core team, but they were, you know, sparring partners, if you like, training partners, and they've had to go back home. In volleyball, you had Coach Bitok. Chris Brown in rugby was a non-accredited coach. He has had to fly back. So there is a lot of support, a big support system around the athletes that brings them to this stage, but these people don't come here. The high school coaches that brought up the athletes, the people, the parents,
that's true,
you know,
that's true.
The parents who've been supporting the kids, seeing them off to the airport. I mean, it's amazing to have the people behind them are bingwa, people who create our heroes, but are never in the headlines.
Let's listen into these two heroes.
Majina naitwa Ronald Kwemo. Nakimbia 5000 meters. Nafikiri mtu mwenye ako bingwa kwa sisi ni mtu aliyekuwa discipline, na ni mtu mwenye ako focus. Sio lazima ukimbie nje ukuwa bingwa. Bingwa ni kukuwa tu discipline na kujua chenye unafanya na mtu mwenye amenipatia ni kuwa discipline na kuwa mtu focus, na ni role model wangu from now ni Eliud Kipchoge, na huyo ndiye amenipatia mentality yangu pia iko strong na kufocus mpaka penye niko sasa.
Kwa majina naitwa Paris Chepchirchir, Olympic defending marathon champion. Bingwa ni mtu ambaye ako na bidii na discipline. Mwenye aliniinspire kukimbia ni Mary Keitany. Nilikuwa nasema siku moja pia nami nitakuwa record holder, and kwa sasa nafurahia sana juu alikuwa the record holder of only women, na sasa ndio nimeshikilia, so nafurahi sana.
Thank you so much for watching. My name is Bernard Ndong. As the French would say, Mr. Elias, au revoir.
Au revoir, merci beaucoup.